All right, I got to talk about this before we get too much into the meat of this video here. If you all remember Alyssa Mercante, she is the one that is in the process of writing a hit piece on Melanie Mac and trying to keep Gamergate 2 going, trying to keep Kotaku alive over there. So she has actually blocked me on Twitter, so I didn't see this. John Trent pointed out that she apparently took my thumbnail from my most recent video on my podcast channel, and that is now her profile picture being used from the thumbnail. She lifted it from there, and that's her new profile picture. So, pretty funny stuff. I gotta say, it's pretty hilarious because that video hasn't even gotten that many views. So something must have set her off. All right, so let's talk about the game developers and why they hate us. Validate is the game that we've talked about before several times from Veritable Joy Studios, from Danny Lalonders, and all these cringe, awful, racist people. And we're not going to get into this game, but this is just a prime example of a game that is not made for the average consumer. And that's fine. Here's the thing. It is perfectly fine to have games that are not made for the average gamer, that are a niche audience. That's fine. It's not a problem. It's nothing wrong with that. The issue is when this mindset infects the mainstream gaming industry and is trying to change gaming across the board for everybody to reflect more of this ideology. So prime example is this A44 Studios game Flintlock that we've talked about before, where, you know, the studio is not that big. It's not that well known. They have one game called Ashen that they have. It's like a Souls-like game that came out a couple of years ago, actually 2018. So this is only like their second big release, it seems like. The Flintlock game, that is. So we've seen articles from like That Park Place talking about how the Flintlock main character was race swapped after significant DEI changes were added into the game. And of course, when Cabrutus Rambo and Grumps pointed this out, it caused a massive, massive freak out. Of course, it should be pointed out that Adria Tops Harjo, who we also talked about in a previous video, founded Inclusion FX, which is a VFX company that's like an advocacy firm. All they do is try to get more black voices and black people into VFX, and it doesn't really matter like if they're qualified or if a white person could do it better or if there's any reason other than the color of their skin to make them do the job. It's the whole point is more brown people good. Doesn't matter if they're actually qualified or not. Again, it's this discriminatory, racist practice of DEI. And so the funny thing about this is this company, A44 Studios, is actually part of a collective known as Kepler Interactive. And recently, they actually purchased A44 Studios for $175 million to be part of this Kepler Interactive group of developing studios. Well, now the Kepler Interactive senior operations manager is pissed after all the negative coverage. And the funniest part was she actually kind of freaked out here on Twitter after Grumps pointed all this stuff out. And you can see right here, actually, I think I have the tweet brought up. Yeah, here we go. So Grumps says, Lizzie K, operations manager for Kepler Interactive, the studio that purchased A44 Games, is not happy with me breaking the story on Flintlock. And so you can see here, she's like absolutely fuming, vibrating off the effing plane of reality. This piss-weak pseudo-journalism that the far-right GG are taking is so vile, incredible to see in real time and closer to home how wrong Grumps is and how damaging he and his weird troop are. And then here's a little bio from her. Here's my story. G'day, I'm Lizzie, a video game producer by trade with a particular love for building and leading happy and engaged teams. I've grown diverse studios, shipped games, solved a million problems. I'm the force multiplier with a pinch of optimism. I thrive in the strategic business world in order to create solid foundations for creativity. And now the funniest part I saw here was she is the co-founder of Girl Geek Academy. Girl Geek Academy. What is that? Well, if you go to Girl Geek Academy, they are exactly what it sounds like. The Girl Geek Academy aims to bring 1 million women and girls into technology careers by 2030. So it's another social activism group. It's the entire thing is there's not enough women technicians and engineers, and that's bad. You can see here, fix the violence, fix the career paths, fix the backlash, fix the role modeling, fix the funding, fix the system, not the girls. So basically it's one of these feminist, the system is bad, the system is rigged, we need to get rid of all these people. Now, I tried going to Kepler Interactive's website, and let me tell you what, this is the most god-awful website I've ever seen in my life. This thing was making my computer try to have a heart attack. And it's actually, I came back here to this website, and it is, my computer's just whirring away here, so I'm not going to keep this browser open. But you can see here, A44 Games, AC, Awaseb, some studios I've never even heard of before, but all of these studios here are part of Kepler Interactive. So just keep that in mind. So next we have Sam Winkler. Now, Sam Winkler is a narrative director at Gearbox Official. Now, this is a lot bigger. Gearbox is way more well-known. Previously, he was the lead writer on Tiny Tina's Wonderland, Borderlands 3, Guns, Love, and Tentacles. I think it's also important to point out that Gearbox Studios, you can see some of their featured releases here, Borderlands 3, Tiny Tina's Wonderland, New Tales from the Borderlands. They are themselves a subsidiary of Embracer Group. Embracer Group, who, as you know, owns a ton of studios, Coffee Stain, Amplifier, Saber no longer. Saber actually bought themselves back. Gearbox over here, THQ Nordic. They, of course, Embracer Group has their own sustainability check boxes that they do. They've got their social governance crap, so they are as woke and loaded full of ESG from the top down as you can possibly get. So Grumps pointed out a tweet from Sam, and I had seen this tweet, but I didn't actually think much of it at the time until I figured out who he actually was. He says, I'd quote Sam directly, but he protected his account. Now I'm going to point out Sam Winkler's account is no longer protected, but at the time it was. Grum says, there's no reason a AAA or even AA sized team needs to outsource writing. It's the smallest part of the budget. This is nepotism or DEI checkboxes or both. It's silly to imply that white writers can only pen white characters. Now, what he is talking about is this little tweet thread right here. He took a screenshot of another Twitter user's post that says a good narrative writer of any skin color can write a good character with another skin color without needing consultants. If your studio can't do that, get a better writer. And I 100% agree. This idea that you have to be white or have to be brown or have to be Asian to write a character with the same skin color is asinine. It's completely not based in reality. And it's led to a lot of this diversified racism that we have now, where basically the idea is we're going to fix racism with more racism. And if there's not racism there in the first place, we're going to make sure that there's racism by the time we're done. So Sam Winkler says, I see this argument all the time against DEI and consultancy, and it just highlights the total misunderstanding of what being a good writer is. You don't somehow max out your stats and learn how to write every conceivable character, plot, or prose style. No, I would argue, Sam, that some writers are just really crappy writers. He says, knowing you aren't ready or aren't the right person to write something is one of the chief skills for a pro writer. Ideally, you have a team that can cover all your bases, but if you have a gap, you hire an outside expert, just like in literally any effing other industry. Just further evidence that 99.99% of the people spewing this crap have never created a single thing in their lives that they're proud of, and the rest are just straight up bigots. So he's resorting to the bigots talk, right? Savvy Artist asked him, can you explain why a good writer wouldn't be able to write someone who looks different than them for a story? How does a writer know when they are ready to write a character who looks differently than they do? 100%. Like, explain to me how you know that you're going to be better just because you match the color of the character that you're writing. It doesn't make any sense. So I actually had shared the tweet here down below, and this is a conversation. The tweet that that started this entire thing originated from a Twitter thread from a user who actually blocked me during the conversation. So we're going to have to switch to my other account now so we can actually see what's going on. The conversation started with a guy named John Ebinger, I think his name is. Yeah, John Ebinger, cinematic director at Firewalk Studios, previously on Jedi Fallen Order and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Past cinematic designer on Dragon Age and Mass Effect. So this guy, he's pretty hot stuff, right? He thinks he's pretty important. Well, John Ebinger, a couple days ago, had seen this tweet from Elon Musk saying that Sweet Baby Inc. is an evil blight on the gaming industry. He goes, okay, so we can add game development to the growing list of things we know that Elon knows absolutely nothing about. Now, this is the Twitter thread that got me banned. Somebody asked him, can you explain what you mean? From the outside looking in, it seems like SBI had nothing but a negative effect on any game that they have a part in. On the other hand, I have followed you for a while and respect your opinion. I would like to hear a bit more. He says, in the simplest form, contractors don't dictate the direction of the game. They execute on the plan laid out for them by people paying them. You can think what you want about their work, but they're not driving that work. So to believe they're some major player is ridiculous. And so I said, okay, ideologically possessed narrative consultants don't dictate the direction of a game. Are you being serious right now? And so, of course, people were on my side on this in general. We're all like, okay, yeah, this sounds asinine. So John Ebinger eventually responded and said, y'all are hilariously ignorant of corporate structure. Writers are not at the top. So to reiterate, I'll try applying quotation marks correctly, unlike the guy above. They execute on the plan laid out for them by the people paying them. They do not define the direction. So John went on to comment on this little screenshot from Carolyn Pettit, the one that worked at Feminist Frequency with Anita Sarkeesian, where she had actually said, we want developers to be free to make the games they want to make. Dev, we wanted to feature a black protagonist in our game and consulted with this firm to ensure that we were doing a good job of that. No, not like that. And this person responded and said, I don't particularly want devs to make the game they want to make, actually. I want them to make games I want to play. I'm willing to pay money for this. This should be a motivating factor. And honestly, it's true. I mean, money should ultimately be the main factor being taken into consideration here. So he said, ironically, this is an argument that devs should be paid more. With current wages, you get passionate artists who are creating games despite the pay and thus have an enormous personal stake in it. Pay enough that passionless mercenaries make games for money and you'll have a deal. Somehow I don't find that to be truthful. If the developer of the game is himself or herself ideologically possessed anyways, and have no problem with the narrative consultants being brought on to help reinforce that DEI push, then why would that make a difference? Why would there be any change whatsoever? So John actually works at Firewalk Studios, who's in the process of developing this game Play Concord, which as of right now, there's not even any new information on. It's a game in development, but just another one for you guys to watch out for because, again, as it stands right now, there's not a whole lot of information about Firewalk other than this one game. But if this is one of the guys that is leading the charge, so to speak, at this studio, cinematic director, it's a pretty big deal. So just wanted to throw that out there. Keep your eyes open, stay vigilant, and I will see you guys later. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching the video. We do have 2 channels, one for daily uploads, the other one for more of my live streams and hot takes. Links to both are down below, as well as the ability to join as a channel member for as little as $3 a month, and that'll greatly help us out. Much appreciated. We also have links to our Etsy accounts down below, as well as our website. We also have locals and Subscribestar. If you didn't want to support us on YouTube, you can support us through those. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you on the next one.